It's All About the Butterflies, a fantastical story by Jim Szymanski. Chapter 6. The rest of the story. Hockey parents and players stick together. The 1982-83 Essex Chiefs Pee Wee AA's had practice on Tuesday nights at South Mountain Arena in West Orange, New Jersey. Right before we went on, the mites, 6 to 8-year-olds, practiced. A few weeks into the season, while standing behind the net talking to parents and directing my players to the correct locker room, I noticed a parent in the stands, just to the right of the lobby, in the corner of the rink, maybe 8 rows up. He was a good-sized guy, maybe 6'2" and 220 pounds, a little rugged, blue-collar kind of look. He was always standing, and every 10 or 15 minutes, he would start yelling at his mite son, who was on the ice. I didn't know who his kid was, as several boys would look his way when he started ranting. "Pick it up. Don't slack out there. Pay attention. I'm talking to you," were some of the comments I recall. There were others. One practice, he went over to the lower side glass and yelled from there, just to be sure he could be heard. The mom came to the rink sometimes, but would be off with other mite mothers in another part of the building. I'm guessing she was embarrassed by the yelling from her husband. After a couple of weeks of this, I waited to see who his kid was when the Zamboni came out to clean the ice for our practice. Mites didn't have a locker room. The boys all came to the rink dressed and just took off their skates and shoulder pads in the seats before going home. The kid looked to be about 7 years old, dusty blonde hair, average size and weight for his age. He didn't say a word while his father continued to berate him while taking off his skates and pads. I'll call this young boy Chad. The next week, while I was standing out behind the net again, this guy came out of the stands, opened the side door to the rink, and called his son over in the middle of practice. He started yelling at him at the door, putting his hand on the boy's shoulder and shaking him to emphasize his critiquing. Then he sent the kid back out to the group while yelling commands, returning to his perch in the stands again. I couldn't see Chad's face through his metal cage as he skated away, but was pretty certain he was crying. At that point, I had seen enough. I had to do something. Based on his ability, I would guess that Chad was a first-year skater. He didn't fall much, but struggled with crossovers and stopping sometimes. He always looked to be paying attention and listened to whatever his coaches on the ice told him. Truth is, most of my players are all about the same. Cousin Field used to call watching mite skate alphabet soup. Watching them all go in different directions, or all follow the puck around the ice like a magnet, like a bowl of soup and the yummy letters escaping your spoon. Mites were too young to judge. They were out there to have fun and learn. It would take another couple of years to separate the A players from the B and C players. There would be exceptions, maybe 1 in 100 kids that would shine, like young David Williams. Once my peewees hit the ice, I walked around to our parents, along with a few others, and told them we needed to do something about this guy. I told them all what I had observed over the past month, including that night. We decided to deal with it at the next practice. The following Tuesday, we all got to the rink earlier than usual, almost at the start of the mite practice. A few parents sat in the stands near but not close to Chad's father. Others, including me, were down standing behind the net. After about 15 minutes, as expected, the father started ranting. All of us, 7 total, made our way towards him. 3 right behind him, 1 to either side, and 2 in front of him, including me, looking straight in his eyes. He didn't know what to make of it. I remember who did the talking, standing right behind him, and a very soft but steady voice. A very old friend, and one of the most rational people I have ever known. He said that we didn't think he was treating his son fairly. that we were all parents with sons, well, not me, and knew a thing or two about raising children. My friend told him that his boy was still young and needed encouragement, not beratement, to help build his confidence and make hockey fun, as it should be. He concluded by telling the father that if any of us ever saw him grab or strike his son in an aggressive way, we would all take him out to the parking lot and show him what it's like to be pushed around. He finished by advising that we would all be watching the father and keeping an eye on his boy. We all walked away and went back to what we were doing. The father sat down for the first time in almost 2 months. The mom was at the rink that night, not sure if she saw what occurred, but I asked her to come over to the far side door of the rink at the end of practice. Our Pee Wee locker room that night, as usual, was at the far end of the rink on the right side, near the snack bar. Just before the Zamboni was ready to come on, I sent one of my Pee Wees on the ice to retrieve Chad and redirect him to that far side door, where his mom was standing with me. I walked him back to our locker room, arm over his shoulder, telling him that he looked good out there tonight. First time I had met him. I sat him and his mom down on a bench right outside our locker room. I took off his helmet and told him to stay put, not to move. I trotted down to the snack bar and came back a minute later with a soda. I popped a straw in the cup and gave it to Chad, telling him it was for doing a good job on the ice that night. I saw a smile break on Chad's face. First time I had seen that. His mom was holding back tears, but mouth-lipped a silent thank you to me. I took off Chad's skates and helped him with his shoulder and elbow pads, packing everything in his bag. I gave his stick a new tape job as well. As my Pee Wees filed out of the locker room for practice, they were all high-fiving Chad and tapping his shin guards with their sticks. I walked Chad and his mom up to the main lobby. I think the dad may have already gone home. I asked the mom if everything was going to be okay, and she said yes, not to worry. I gave her my phone number anyway and told her she could call me any time if she needed any help with anything. She came to most, but not all the practices after that week. The dad would occasionally stand up and blurt out one or two commands, but he would look around and see everyone staring at him, putting him back down in his seat. After every practice, Chad came to our locker room to change, or out on the bench when his mom was with him. I walked him up to the lobby if mom wasn't there. My Pee Wees didn't know why Chad was in our locker room, but they knew it was important to me, and they welcomed him as one of the team. Sort of adopted him as our mascot. He loved being in that locker room with them, made him feel special. Well, he was special, just like all my kids. I don't know how things turned out for him the next season when I started the Olympic Stars. I was only at South Mountain a couple times in late August, early September. I do hope it did work out for all of them, though. Chad deserved that. He was a good kid.